After an explosive meeting on Friday between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump, Western leaders found themselves scrambling to reaffirm their support for Ukraine as the tensions between Washington and its key allies deepened. The Oval Office confrontation exposed the delicate balance Western capitals now face, supporting Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression while managing a US president whose approach to the conflict has now become increasingly sympathetic to Vladimir Putin. The fallout was swift. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who had already faced a tricky visit to Washington earlier this week, quickly intervened, speaking with both Trump and Zelensky after the shouting match. Starmer, according to his spokesperson, reiterated his unwavering support for Ukraine and emphasized his commitment to finding a peaceful resolution based on Ukraine's sovereignty and security. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who's a Trump ally, called for a summit with the US and European nations to address the war in Ukraine, warning the division within the West would only weaken it. Meanwhile, France's President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen rallied behind Zelensky, underscoring their unwavering support for Ukraine's defense. Scholz, in a statement, affirmed that Ukraine could rely on Europe and Germany, stressing that no one wanted peace more than the Ukrainian people. Zelensky also received messages of support from NATO General Secretary Jens Stoltenberg and European leaders such as Lithuania's Gitanas Nausėda, who proclaimed, "Ukraine, you'll never walk alone." But there was a notable exception in the form of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who sided with Trump, praising his approach to peace negotiations. The diplomatic fallout wasn't limited to Europe. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Australia's Anthony Albanese, and New Zealand's Christopher Luxon all reaffirmed their country's support for Ukraine. Trudeau in particular emphasized that Ukraine's fight for democracy and sovereignty mattered to the entire world. Albanese weighed in on the Trump-Zelensky clash, saying Canberra would continue to stand with Ukraine. This is what he said.
The people of Ukraine are fighting not just for their own national sovereignty. They are fighting for the international rule of law. Australia has committed some $1.5 billion to help Ukraine defend itself. More than $1.3 billion of that is military support. We will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes, because this is the struggle of a democratic nation versus an authoritarian regime led by Vladimir Putin, who clearly has imperialistic designs not just on Ukraine, but throughout that region. Well, we, of course, want to see peace in Ukraine, and that's what the Ukrainian people want as well. But I tell you how you get peace in Ukraine really quickly, which is to Russia stopping its illegal and immoral invasion, and Russia stopping the attacks on civilians, on civil infrastructure, engaging in this act of aggression that they have engaged in now for 3 years, and of course in the past, in the very recent past as well, the attack that they had on Crimea. I am responsible for Australia's foreign policy. Australia's foreign policy is determined by Australia, and we stand unequivocally with Ukraine in their struggle, because we regard that as a struggle for the upholding of international law. The people of Ukraine have suffered greatly in defence of their nation and their national sovereignty, and Russia has acted like a bully, a big country seeking to invade and to take over territory from another sovereign nation, in this case Ukraine. And like the rest of overwhelmingly countries around the world, we have stood with Ukraine, and we will continue to do so. Thanks very much.
Similarly, European Council President Antonio Costa reaffirmed his commitment to Ukraine's cause. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, also took a firm stance, declaring that the free world needs a new leader, while offering her support to Zelensky and urging him to stay longer. On social media, Czech's President Peter Pavel also urged Europe to step up its efforts. Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre also weighed in, condemning Trump's accusations and reaffirming Norway's commitment to Ukraine's freedom. As the weekend approached, Western capitals were left grappling with how to maintain unity in their support for Ukraine. With Zelensky's visit to the UK scheduled for Sunday, all eyes are now on how European leaders will manage the ongoing divide between Trump's approach and the broader Western consensus on Ukraine. The geopolitical chess game is far from over, and the stakes couldn't be higher for the future of Europe and its security.